Today, I'm going to share another episode in the Fix My Room series, all about a basement bar. I know I did one like this last week too. And going forward, I am going to space these out a bit more. But since I'm launching our online course, Master the Mix, next week, I thought it was pretty good timing to give you another flavor of what it would be like to work with me and to go through the course. In this case, I'm working with a lovely guy named Court, and he has already an inspirational starting point to work with. In Master the Mix, I'm going to help you figure all of that out and translate it into specific design decisions. Now, keep in mind, this would be like the first call that you would have with me, and then we would spend a lot more time, 4 more weeks really, working on your room to transform it together. What I really want you to pay attention to in this episode is how we're going to focus on some of the materials that he saw in Germany that he can then use in his basement bar. All right, let's jump in. Court, welcome to the Slow Style Home Podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before I show some photos, tell us a little bit about what you came to me with. What was your dilemma?
Yeah, so my dilemma was I have a older home built in the 1920s. It has a lot of the house is very nice, but some of the renovations that had been done in the past were kind of like not very good quality,
Yeah.
especially some of the cabinetry is really
Ah,
lacking. Um,
okay.
so downstairs in our basement, we have a finished basement, and there is a very bare bones bar down there. It kind of has like a sink that you might use for laundry or something like that, and it has sort of a backsplash that doesn't really inspire me very much. So my thought was going to be to try to redo that and to get an idea of kind of making it more personal. My wife and I went to Germany recently to visit Christmas markets, and
Mhm.
they were all so beautiful. It kind of made me think it'd be nice if we could incorporate some of the art from the Christmas markets or the design elements to bring a little more inspiration to the bar. And
Yeah.
I have a couple of ceramic mugs and different things that I was hoping to display that would kind of help to make it a little more meaningful for my wife and I. So.
Yeah. Well, I love this idea. I usually when we do well, like if we do a whole room makeover, I always want people to start with a vision that includes some sort of inspirational starting point. And we're taking something that's very personal, meaningful. Oftentimes it's not concrete. It's a feeling, it's an experience and trying to translate that into design choices. And so this is perfect. So we've got this starting point of your trip to Germany. I was in Germany working, oh God, in the 90s for several months, and I went to many a Rathskeller and was also there at the time when the Christmas markets were there. They are so charming. And it's, for those of you who don't know, it's where you can buy lots of handmade items that are either Christmassy decor or they're just gifts. And they're just so much fun. And there's usually hot drinks involved, and you're all bundled up and they're outdoors. So I'm really excited about this. I'm going to start with some photos. And so let me just share my screen.
Sounds good. Thanks. And I'm curious what your take is on the bar. For some reason, it just doesn't. I know it's all cluttered, but even in the best case scenario, it doesn't. When I look at it, I'm like not super happy with it. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that first of all, it's obvious that you guys are in the middle of projects. You've got the plastic runner going down the stairs for the people, workmen coming in and out. You've got other work going on in the rest of your house. This is definitely a work in progress. And also you have at least one kid, right?
Yeah, two kids, and they're both pretty small. So
Yeah. Yeah, right. So this basement is used not just for the bar area, it's also used for the kids, which is very, typical. This is what we do when we have small kids. We share our space and then they get older and we kick them out. So this is going downstairs into the basement and you immediately see the bar. And here it is on the full front. And so it's not huge. We've got the sink on the left. We've got a tiled backsplash, very small tiles, different colors of, I would say, like browns and creams and maybe some olive type of things. There's some light underneath the upper cabinets that are shining down onto the bar area. What's the countertop made of?
It is tile. It's large pieces of tile. Kind of, it almost looks like what you would use on like the floor to me.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, okay. And so you've got kind of smallish upper cabinets, and then you've got the lower cabinets that go across the bar area. And then just really quickly, just to say, see where it is in the room. So it's over on this left-hand wall. You see the side of it when you walk down, and then you come in and you see to the right of the bar is what looks to be a big open area where you've got a nice looking brown leather couch. Presumably, this whole area is something that can be reflective of the bar area. We'll get into that. And then here you see it in the bigger room, and you see that there's kids involved, and this room needs to be multifunctional.
that's right.
Um,
Yeah, and that thing hanging down is a sensory swing. So
oh,
one of my kids really loves that. So
yes.
yeah.
Okay, that's cool. That's great. Okay, so then I just wanted to show you shared this photo of me coming in. I assume this is your front door. How beautiful the house is. I mean, it's got a
Oh,
lot of character.
thank you
It
so much.
looks,
Yeah, and we haven't
yeah.
done much to this part other than just adding some lighting and that sort of thing. So
Well, it's very beautiful. It looks kind of like an arts and crafts kind of style going on, which I think is great because there's this lot of beautiful wood in here of that era that I think is going, we're, easy then to tie that into what's going in the bar area. So let me just go back to the bar. So you talked about, don't really like the cabinetry, don't really like the backsplash, don't really like the sink, but you like the idea of the bar area. And back to your inspirational starting point, let me show a few pictures of the things that you may want to incorporate that could be a great place for us to start. So these are
sounds
some
good.
beer steins that you picked up. These are the quintessential German, beautiful carvings on them, this old kind of pewter tops to the mugs. Anything else you want to say about those?
Yeah, no, that I definitely. I know it may be just a little bit stereotypical, but I decided I definitely wanted to bring that home. And
Yeah,
then one other thing you might have a picture of later. There's these ceramic chalices that they used to. Oh, there it is right there. So for that particular vessel, I don't know what it's called, but it has that little out pouching where
yeah,
you would
like
think
a
that's
spout.
where. Yes, you would think that's where you would drink out of, but actually, when I was watching the locals, they would put mulled wine
Oh,
in the cup. They would float rum on top, and in the little outpouching, there's a sugar cube, and then they
no.
light the whole thing on fire.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I love that. That is so cool. Well, I was really happy you shared this photo with me too of the ceramic piece because I feel like these two beer steins, and by the way, the background of the beer steins is kind of like a bluish gray, and then the carvings are kind of like an ivory color.
A lot of places had different like things that looked kind of like coats of arms and
Yes,
reflective of the local history and that sort of thing. So
exactly. So what I did is I started doing very minimal. I mean, very minimal. So this is something that you can use just as a jumping off point. This is not the end all be all. I started just looking up Christmas markets, Rathskellers, and taverns in Germany just to get some pictures in my head. And for those of you who don't know, Rathskeller is, I think it means like council cellar or something. So these are the really cool bars, I guess, where people could drink underneath the government, like the town hall. They're everywhere in Germany and they're very lively. And the fact that they are underground was kind of like an immediate cool thing to me because we're talking about your basement, which is also underground. So there's an obvious tie-in right there. And so then let me just show you some of the other pictures I pulled up. This is one you shared with me. It's of an outdoor part of an outdoor Christmas market, but it looks like it's the place where you might get mulled wine or beer. Describe what we're looking at here.
yeah, so it's a small kind of wooden structure. It looks kind of like what we might think of as like a small lodge or something in the US.
Yeah,
And the actual bar itself is covered and framed by wood. And then on the outside, there's kind of a covered open structure where it's kind of outside, but you would wait to get your drink. And if it's
yeah,
really cold, you can stay there and be sheltered
right,
from the cold.
right. And there's some carvings on the wood, on the pillars that are holding the roof up. And then you shared me this photo too. This is of the inside of a Christmas market. And I want to point out here what I got from this was whimsy.
Yes.
The ceiling is painted like this dark, beautiful blue with these gold stars on top. And then you see some of the stalls and there's a lot of glass in Germany, a lot of glass work, a lot of things that are lit from within. So these beautiful colors are showing. Is there any other feelings or anything that you got from the Christmas markets that you made it memorable for you?
Yeah, I think the feeling was definitely kind of like a cozy feeling. The candles and that sort of thing. It's definitely, there's just kind of like, it's like a beauty in small things to me, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. So part
Yeah.
of its charm was that everyone in the community can sort of enjoy the space. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to be a millionaire. It's just you walk past, you look at the nice things, and if you want to linger, you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah. And it's a respite from the cold.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and I also
Well,
wanted to mention we got a couple of those glass kind of candle
oh,
holders, so we
good.
have a couple of those too.
Oh,
So
great, great. Yeah, they're beautiful. So they're little scenes that are, I guess, painted. I'm not sure.
I think
Um,
so.
on glass, and then you put the candle inside, and so the scene sort of is lit from within. So here are some photos that like I said, very rudimentary Google search. So this is just a beautiful front of a Rathskeller, and you can see how much attention is paid to detail. There's a ribbon painted on the brickwork. There's a beautiful lantern hanging. There's a lot of ironwork that looks intricate. It feels very celebratory, like you're stepping into a fun place that has lots of history to it, but that you feel like, oh, we're going to go in here and we're going to have fun. This is the inside of one, and you can see the ceiling is painted. Now, this is Hofstra House, and I don't know that it's an actual Rathskeller. It may not be downstairs. These ceilings look very high, but you see the paintings on the ceilings. I mean, a lot of attention to detail. The paintings are whimsical. Here's another shot, and there's you've got a German band here playing some some German music. I mean, I can imagine that it's just a lot of fun to be in a place like this. Yeah, and here's another one. This is a Rathskeller, and you see something hanging from the ceiling. They do a lot of things hanging from the ceiling. Ceilings again are painted. You see all of the wood.
Yes.
The warmth in these rooms comes from the lighting. And I think that's what we're going to want to work on in your basement, because it's not going to get a lot of natural light. I saw you have, a window, maybe more than one window, but it's a basement. So that it's still kind of that dark. It's dark, but we want to make it cozy. This is just another example of, this is just a bar in Germany. It's like a tavern, but you see, again, all of the wood that is on the ceiling is covered in wood. There's wainscoting going like 3/4 of the way up the wall. So there's not much wall space that is left painted and plaster. To me, it feels very warm. It doesn't feel dark and foreboding. Then I started pulling out just some details. So on the left, I believe this is a menu for Hofsperhaus. It's bright, it's cheery, it's got bright blue and some yellows in it. And again, it feels celebratory and fun. And on the right, I'm sure you saw these glasses everywhere. So these are beer pints glasses that
Yes.
have these, like, they're glass that has like circles in it. I don't know how else to describe it. Did you see these over there?
We did, yeah. And we thought about bringing some back, but we were like, you know what? If we want them, we'll just buy them here rather than
Yeah.
trucking a bunch of glassware back.
Yeah,
So,
right, right. Get the steins, get the candles. Yes.
uh,
But it's back to the glass. Glasses are very big. And then this over here is a piece of ceramics that they're actually using in the restaurant. They're using to hold napkins. It looks like it was maybe holding beer at one point, but it's ceramic, which then reminded me of the ceramic that you showed me of the kind of chalice where you just talked about that fabulous rum drink. Another piece of ceramic. I also love the coasters that are here. These are just the paper coasters, but they've got probably the name of the pub on it. And then you've got this napkin underneath this soup bowl that is white with blue stripes, I guess, of blue diamonds going straight down, which is a very common motif in Germany, in Bavaria in particularly, but throughout Germany. And so that was kind of like, oh, I want to keep that in mind. This is a photo of, I believe, a bunch of steins, beautiful steins, like you have locked up with numbers on them. And I believe people bring their own stein to the bar, they leave it there, and then they can get it in out of a cabinet. Is that what I'm looking at? Do you
Yeah,
agree?
that yes, that was my understanding, and it seemed like it sort of served a dual purpose. Like it number one, it looks cool, and then number two, if you're a regular, you're like, oh, that's my spot. You know, you go
Yeah.
and get it out. And one other, I think it's a really good point what you were saying that like everything it was like wood, ceramic, and glass.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did not know before going to Germany was they're very big on not generating waste.
Okay.
So they you almost like even if you were like, oh, I want something to go,
Yep.
there are like no to go cups. It's you
Yeah.
basically get the ceramic glass or the glass, you pay an extra fee, so like maybe €5 more, and
Right.
then when you bring the glass back, they refund your money.
Yeah.
But if you like to, you're free to just take them and
Take
not bring
it.
them back. So
Yeah, as a tourist, I'm taking it. That's a great thing to bring home. So I love that story. And I think that the steins that are in the bar that are for the regulars, that whole thing speaks to what you're just saying as well. It's also to me speaks of this idea of being incredibly welcoming and a feeling of belonging. Like you said, that's my stein, which is a feeling that I think you want to bring into the bar area where you are. This is just the front of a cask, a huge cask with
oh,
beautiful carving on it. Again, I just want to point out the wood carving. And then I found photos, several of them, of these huge vats that this is where they make the beer. And they're made out of copper. Okay. So let's going back to your bar area. There is so much goodness to pull, so much inspiration from this trip to Germany. Now, I don't know about you, I'm not huge on going overly thematic.
okay. Yeah, and to be honest, this is all new to me, so I don't
Okay.
have much design experience. And
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine. That's fine. Well, the reason I don't like to go overly thematic is because as life develops, you're going to probably want to incorporate things beyond what you first do when you redo a room. And let's say you and your wife and your family decide to go on another trip and it's someplace completely different. I was in Vietnam and Cambodia earlier this year. Cambodia is very big on craft beer. And so, if you're someplace like that, you might want to bring some of that into your bar. So you don't want to make it so thematic that like the stuff from Cambodia sticks out like a sore thumb.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I like to take some of the design elements that really inspired me and gives me the feeling that I had there that can inform the space without it hitting me over the head. So here are some thoughts that I have. First of all, my very first fun thought is that a sink could be made out of copper.
Oh yeah, that would definitely look a lot better for sure. Yeah, right now for anyone that can't see the pictures, it's just kind of like a regular kind of like stainless steel sink that you'd get at like the hardware store or something. Yeah.
Yes, this is the sort of hangout part of the basement. So I think a copper sink, it could be hammered, which would be really, really cool, or not. That's, a totally a personal preference. But that to me is an obvious space to pull in the copper. And then it sounds like you're pretty open to redoing this bar area completely. So what I would do, if possible, is
Uh-huh.
I would make the sink in the center of it and have room on both sides.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that does make sense. Uh-huh. Especially, I mean, I guess one of my hobbies is making mixed drinks, and I know sometimes it's kind of nice to like have a little more space because a lot of times you're kind of like trying to make sure things don't spill everywhere, that sort of thing. So,
Right, right. What that would do if you put the sink in the middle is it would leave room on both sides in the back for cabinetry to go up. And
okay,
I
okay,
would suggest glass. It could
okay.
be wood, a wood frame with just glass fronts, maybe a mirrored back. It could be a smoky mirror, something that's very reflective in the back, or it could be all glass. That's really kind of that's a personal preference. I would probably lean toward the wood because of all of the wood that we see in the bars and the Christmas markets that you were in. And that would maybe be an opportunity to, if you're just doing the frame, to get some molding or some, I don't know if you know anybody that could make something that just has some cool kind of engravings in it or something. It could be the name of your town and the year that you put it in or something like that. Just right on the edge of those cabinets, and then those become your display cabinets for your glass. So maybe one side is your the kind of glassware that you need for all the kinds of mixed drinks that you like, including your beer glasses. And the other side are more of your ceramic things, or maybe you mix them. I mean, you'd have to play around with how it looks once they're up there. I would then, in the inside of these cabinets, I would light them from within,
Oh,
put little
oh, that's a
lights in
good
them.
idea. Okay.
So now you've got a lot of light bouncing around and you've got lots of beautiful display for the things that you've collected.
Yeah, that sounds great. And then just so I'm clear, with the cabinetry going all the way up, would it still kind of have this, I guess, would the cabinetry kind of start where the lower edge of the backsplash is and then go to the ceiling kind of on either side?
That's what I'm thinking. And I would keep them not very deep, like even just one, it depends on how much glassware you have. One or two glasses deep, no more than that, because you need the counter space. This also could be where you stick some of your bottles, your liquor bottles. Sometimes those are really beautiful as well. But those two cabinets really become sort of the focal point of the bar. You've got this gorgeous copper sink in the middle. You've got two things going straight. And if you need the space, above where the backsplash is connecting the two cabinets could be another like center cabinet that could either be all wood, that's where you stick stuff that isn't as pretty, or it could be glass as well. Again, just kind of depends on what kind of storage you need.
Oh, that makes sense. And then I guess for the bottom part, would that also be wood and glass, or that it kind of like doesn't matter, like kind of do what you want?
Yeah, I would probably keep that covered wood for utilitarian purposes. You might want to think about, instead of cabinets, you might want to think about drawers. I mean, really, when you're thinking about any kind of cabinetry, kitchen, bedroom, closet, whatever, the best thing to do is take stock of what it is you want to store first, kind of set it out like on a big table, literally measure the heights of things and make sure either the cabinetry or the drawers are the right height.
That makes sense. Another thing I was just noticing just now, it looks like we could probably get another foot or two in the bar if it
Yeah.
went like on either side. I was kind of noticed there's sort of this weird space, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, there's no reason why. I would definitely make it look more built in,
Okay.
and so therefore you're going to stretch it to the length of the wall. It looks like maybe on both sides. And then you do have some backsplash area right behind the sink.
Okay.
This could be copper as well going up if you wanted to, like a nice sheet of copper. It could be copper that goes up to the top of the where the backsplash is now, and then a wood cabinet above. It could be tile. It could be ceramic tile. Instead of the glass tile that you have, maybe that's where you bring in some ceramic. And maybe it's old. Maybe it's some Delftware tile, some nice, really like beautiful cream with maybe some that's been like painted with like a little scene on it. You'd have to do some image searches on Pinterest or Google to kind of, so, I wish I had thought of that. I would have done some of that. But I think that would make this bar area look so beautiful that I think all of this together, that you're going to then be super motivated to then address the other part of the room that's basically across from the bar, which is of course where you want to be sitting.
Yeah, no,
And
that makes sense.
yeah, I mean, that's like a stage phase two of the project, but I feel like there's so much potential in there. And you've already got a great looking couch that it makes me want to do the rest of the area.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, the one thing I was a little bit wanted to ask you about was there's this kind of like pillar that cuts off the space. There's probably nothing to do about that, but is there anything you do like, I don't know, like painted or something like that. I guess I was just wondering how you deal with an unwanted pillar, or if you
Right
just kind
here.
of ignore it. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. I'm presuming it is necessary to
I
hold.
would I would assume so.
So this kind of gets into the ideas that we're getting into the other part of the room. But one cool thing would be to clad it in wood, in like it can be stained wood, but I mean not painted wood. Maybe this is carved. Maybe this is where you stick your kids' heights on it. This could be something of getting into that feeling of I belong here. Maybe
Okay,
the
so maybe
names of your friends that come over carve their name in the wood. I mean, it can be kind of like an interactive thing, but I would start getting into this. The rest of the space is where I would start saying, okay, now how are we going to make the rest of the space have those other things in it that we talked about from your photos? Some levity, some merriment, whimsy, feeling of belonging, feeling like I can hang out here and, hang with my friends, hang with my wife. There's this bar in where I live outside of Boston that I don't even know if it exists anymore. It was an old watch factory and they turned the bottom half into this bar, but they had Lego tables all over the bar and couches. There were very few places to sit and eat. And it was purposely made so the parents could hang out on the couch, drink their beer while their kids played with Legos. Like it was awesome. It was, you have
yeah.
little kids, it's cold out, you're dying for a place to take them and for something to do to keep them entertained while you're also entertained. So, my mind is spinning with ways to make that part of the room work as well. And so that pillar would be sort of the marker of you are entering the pub space.
Yeah, I see what you mean about kind of, I don't know if it's the right word, but almost making like a veneer of, so it kind of matches the carved wood, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think because it is a relaxed environment, a basement is not a place where you're formal. So it doesn't have to be the most expensive wood. It doesn't have to be precious. It can be fun.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your expertise. I really like the idea of moving the sink into the center as well. It's definitely something I wouldn't have thought of. So,
Yeah, I'm excited about your inspirational starting point. There's just so much to work with there. And I'm very happy to help.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love the idea of the kind of the mirrors in the back and yeah, definitely. It's giving me some good ideas. So,
Great, great. And I think taking out that backsplash and either, like I said, doing kind of copper that goes up or ceramic, like a nice cream colored ceramic tile. I think it's going to make it feel less dated.
yeah, it's like you'd rather have something be like 100 years old than like 20 years old potentially.
Exactly, exactly. Right, right, right. So, well, this has been really fun. It's been great to talk with you. Thank you so much for sharing your home with me.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. So I look forward to, I'll send you a picture if we get it done sometime in the next year or two.
Please send me a photo. I love the after photos for sure.